do. It's gonna change the ecology also. And so, okay, they have a clean slate here for sure, and this is all gonna be toy on here in about 5 years, but and if there's any oaks, those are gonna sprout back and et cetera. It looks like there was some manzanita in here, which is, you know, that needs to probably go anyway, because that's really flammable. So I'm not saying they didn't do a good job here, I'm just saying that they did it looks like kind of a lop and scatter here, which is good, you know, it's gonna hold the soil, it's gonna protect the soil. So but if we can get people to walk on it and you know, shimmy down the dirt in the gopher holes, keep the trail compacted, that's gonna help you guys in the future when all this brush goes up and you gotta find a leaf that's sort of slipped around the gunite in a matter of time. May not be right away, but it could happen. So if we could do 100-foot setbacks to protect the erosion, to make sure fire people can come in here, brushing people that can continue to brush the trail, and 100-foot setback is a clear message. And I think that as a public agency, I would like to pursue this if we can supersede the counties, their standards, because this is all water. I would think 100 would be great. That would be a clear message to everybody. This is basically a prescriptive right of way.
Yeah, I just don't know if we have that authority.
Pardon me?
I just don't know if we have that authority. Especially if policy's been written and all the setbacks have been set. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, so policy gets written for a variety of reasons. My job is to amend, rescind, or change, or develop policy. That's technically our job. And I've looked at some of those older policies, and I can see the politics in them too.
Yeah.
You know, efficiency, conservation, nothing wrong with that, but now we're looking at fire protection, vegetation management, and I would think a goodwill benefit, a blue zone benefit to this resource.
Yeah.
As strengthening our argument to allow it to be conveyed.
How are you gonna be able to use quads along the ditch?
This one, we're not gonna be able to. There's the berms. It's T, but we'll be able to use the UTV getting materials up, up to the road, different things like that. There's different spots we're gonna be able to use it that we've used wheelbarrows pushing up a bank before. At least we can there's spots where we can use the UTV at least to get to a certain area, not necessarily up and down the ditch.
That would really be helpful.
Oh, it'd be great, but, Ron, I've always wanted that, but it's.
Well, we have to start sometime.
You could have a quad with a trailer and then the guys don't have to carry the truck, bring it right to the spot you need it.
If the public or the neighborhood gets used to this, the maintenance, or a tribal crew out there doing their thing, or a CAL FIRE crew, they will understand that this is a resource that everybody, they have a right to enjoy it, but they have a responsibility to allow access to protect it.
Yeah.
And it's not just gunite that protects it, there's a whole lot of other things that we like protecting. I just think we need to start now. Something changed in the last 170 years. Something has changed, and I think we can get observed. It's not one thing, it's a variety of things that we can do, especially to make your job easier. Could you imagine if the public already understood and had that trail all nice and you could go out there and see where the leaks were and they go, yeah, and they were your partners in this, rather than, I don't know if we can, change this now. I would like to change the policy to protect the resource and get those, and to update the policy to where we are now in terms of vegetation management and allowing and making it easier for you guys. I see personally, one of the reasons we have to raise our rates is because we could have if there was the will to have, done things differently and gotten the public used to it, you know, at the inception of TUD, but we went a different direction, and that made it really tricky, so, I wanna find out, if we need to, maybe not now, but maybe in the future, these are distinct projects that are gonna change the historic character of this ditch. And I think that if anything, we need to, certainly stop the leaks. I'm not saying not stop the leaks. I'm not against gunite because, there's no cultural landscape left they go hand in hand. You know, the cultural landscape is a response to the miners going away and the ecology being a ditch dependent cultural landscape. And so there's, you know, like, okay, let's gunite the thing, you know, now, and then, and then the hardy will get used to that they can't get a drink for, you know, if it's black oaks, if it's returning ponderosa pine, then they'll be solid. Like what's now finally growing back behind Studebaker Gorge. That's a great idea. Do you know where I'm talking about? Okay, on the O'Neill or the Table Mountain Ditch, there's a guy who has all these Studebakers. And I mean, old dead Studebakers. And he's got logging decks going up to the ditch. And they're all with dead, nicely parked Studebakers. And they're all like a library. You know, he's got his coops here and his trucks here, so for parts, right? Okay, so it's really a unique little part of the 20 Canyon. So when he had leaks, and he still has leaks. So this was, I want to say in 1999, I think, gunite came in, and boom, all the black oak just KO'd over. And then the Toyon now is pretty high now. Okay, so that's really flammable. Okay, but now enough time has gone by, so you can see that black oak now, you know, 10 years old, they're starting to come back. And so you get rid of the Toyon and create a little more water for the black oak, then you've got this returning ecology that was there before the gunite. So when we look at the overhaul of the overlying system, then you've got your cultural landscape returning, and then you've actually reduced your fuel load too. So back to this, I'm in favor of this, but not without us really pursuing policy development and public awareness education with the habitat people. I'd love to go out there and talk to them and open it up to local trail users and families as an asset, property value angle, and develop setbacks to protect our water quality, because our water quality affects how we operate the system. Now, I know this is below any treatment plant, okay, so, you know, theoretically, who cares, but I mean, I care. I know you guys care, but there's no treatment plant to receive this water, which makes that really.
Is there any ditch domestics beyond this point?
Yes, and they are on the other side, Columbia Nursery, and let's see. Where are we? They're in here. Wait, they're in, is this Menelik? Yeah.
That's the Gold Rush Trailer Park.
Okay, if this is Paris Ferry, okay, Gold Rush, Columbia Nursery.
I think the other one you're thinking about, Barbara, is actually upstream of this.
Is this that little gym motel place? Or those little cabins?
So the red buildings,
Yeah.
Well, there's other ones in here, I know that for a fact. Diane Magid, she's in here.
I think that one's upstream.
You think this one's
Yeah, I
up
think the
here?
one you're talking about is upstream, yeah.
Well, the road that used to be Covington Road and then it became Quarry Road, is that here?
Quarry Road is
And the county blocked
just
it?
north of Columbia Nursery. Yeah, it's right next to it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So that is the old way to, might go over here.
I think the gal you're talking about, Diana Magic, or I can't remember her last name, is F32.
This one,
Yeah.
Is-
To the right of your page, right there.
that one? Okay. Well, so anyway, one of the problems is with the water quality, with they're as ditch customers that, you know, are paying customers and expect reliable water. I just know that by the time, it just gets so, you know, messed up, and these are long, essentially private property, if you will, leads that come off of this. And then with these subdivisions in here, they get moved, and the property owners don't know it, and they're ditch customers, they don't even know where their line is to even clean it. So there's reasons to really protect this area with setbacks. And I would like to advocate for that as hard as I can, and work with Dawn and work with the county.
Okay.
I think we've got to start doing it.
So what will likely happen here is that when they go to develop this, they'll have to do some sort of parcel map, some sort of subdivision map, and then that'll get sent to me. I'll see the tentative map. I work up a response, and then I circulate that to, sometimes I convey a call on these. It just depends upon who might be involved. So this would be one that I'm more than likely, I don't get very many maps that have the ditch running through them. So I could certainly go to Kurt and Eric and say, what conditions do you think we should apply here? Or things that we want to bring up. Drainage would be is always one of them. Do we, you know, make sure that things don't, there isn't something close to the ditch that's going to bother us or harm the ditch. I think in the end though, if you're controlling drainage, you're likely going to end up with cleaner water because you don't have just all this debris getting into the, you know, that's uncontrolled, you know, that has been for decades and decades, you know. So there's a benefit.
Yeah, and, you know, as things grow back now too, after the mastication, it's gonna be much easier for us to maintain and stay ahead of.
Yeah,
And keep the good stuff, get rid of the bad stuff, which is
Yeah.
nice, so.
yeah. Well,
Pipelines.
They're more, I call them leaders. They aren't necessarily where the pipe, they aren't where the
It's
pipe
a,
is.
Ron, many years back, we went through and just did our best guess of where the private line went, the direction the private line went, where it ends up, so. It was not easy.
Some of these are
Places
really
where it's
long.
exposed.
Yeah.
well, they are. And there's a really good fall down here, the last time I was up in here. And there's a shared line in here.
Yeah, that nursery, what we call the nursery line, I believe, boy, it's 3 or 4 of the customers off of that line. Most of them are up towards the top.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, and they, you know, they do rely on that partnership with you guys because they haven't been kept apprised of how their lines have been moved. And they're getting older, the people are getting older, but they see this as an important asset to their property. And then what happens is they're paying for water that they don't really have, but they don't want to give up their connection. They're kind of, so I do think we have an obligation to try to provide them water because they're a customer, so. So I see we've got some follow-up stuff.
Mhm.
I see the gunite is, you know, for your purposes, oh, like I'm okay with it because they masticated first, but I don't think that they had any plan with Fish and Wildlife on this. I think they just did it. You think they had it?
Well, I'm sure they had to do CEQA on it, but
I'm sure Habitat for Humanity has some special things they can,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Where do they get that? I think that we should check into that.
Any more questions on number 1?
No, But you bring up a really good point, because I wanna protect our asset. And if people are getting a break out there, good on them. We're not doing it for their project as because we're nice. We're doing it to protect our water interests. And I think I think we can expect them to comply with this benefit that they are benefiting from. I think it's just illogical to say, here's the offset for this. I know TUG, I think, does an amazing job working with people. And yet they are getting a break that the rest of us don't get. And there's no judgment there, it's just that certain institutions do, because they're providing a good service. Well, so, yeah, I don't mean to sound like I'm I just am that kind of person. Okay, yes,
So we'll jump to number 3.
so this is number 1,
That's number 1.
okay.
Ron, this is number 3. Yeah. So this is the overlay right by the storm treatment plant. It's 138 feet of ditch. Last year we went in and we tried to hand patch a bunch of cracks and leaks that we had on there. And so I proposed that we just overlay this area. I have about an 80 gallon leak down below. What would you say, quarter mile down below?
Yeah, there's a lot of mine shafts in this area.
Yeah.
And, I think it's following down one.
If you remember last year, you guys approved the Shaw's Flat, we shot roughly 900 feet and we stopped that portion of that leak quite a bit. This is a different leak that's upstream from it a little bit.
Okay, now that little kind of, I'll say, slow flow right up above the treatment plant,
Yeah.
that was left as mitigation for wildlife years and years ago. That's why it was never dried up.
Oh, above the treatment plant?
Right
Yeah,
above.
above the ditch, okay,
Mhm,
yeah.
There's turtles in there.
And this is right below,
This is below,
right below, yeah.
yeah, so it's just reapplication.
Reapplication.
Okay. I'll just say, no, reapplication, no issues.
All right, check that one off, then you guys can put those away, so we don't get everything mixed up. And we're just bringing back this one, because weather-wise, we didn't get to do it last year. So I just want to let you guys know what we were doing. This is a root ball that came out, I don't know what year that was.
Say 2 years ago, probably. 3 maybe.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
That's this section, right?
We did some
Thank you.
root ball, took up the berm in the ditch a little bit and was causing a sinkhole down below on a San Diego ditch road.
Yeah, on the only access for 5 homes back there, and the road started disappearing, so we went and fixed the road, got it so it was travelable again, did a bunch of I don't know, we spent 2-3 weeks
Yeah.
working in this area, trying to get the leak slowed down, so we wouldn't have any more impacts. So and the berm on this spot's about 3 feet wide with almost a vertical cut down to the road. So there's a lot of concern there that if we don't go ahead and just get this cleaned up and sealed up, that it's gonna disappear one of these days, and the road's gonna wash out too, so.
Okay, so help me, so I see I have experimental mine road.
Mhm.
And so this is this Ibar Road?
San Diego ditch road.
Ditch road, so
You
it's.
say, oh, that's, okay, so now I'm gonna have to Google this.
Yeah.
We have ditch domestics out there,
Oh,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Okay, let me just, oops, Google map this.
And this one last year, you guys approved, Barbara, you guys went through this one pretty good last year.
I know, but
Yeah, that's right.
Don't they say that your episodic memory stays intact, but your short term, like, it just, so that's kind of where I'm going. I gotta refresh my memory here. I just like to see where it is. Okay. So we're not near the college. We're kind of where that nexus, where that fork is, the ditch kind of.
Yeah, it would be the San Diego Divide.
Yeah, I get it. Now, didn't that area burn as you're going along? There's like it's dead, kind of this burned area after the divide, like
I'm
towards.
trying to think, yeah.
Bo
maybe that's
Leonard's
Gorsuch, but
place?
There was a house fire in there that kind of got into some vegetation, but then they also did mastication
Oh,
work in
okay.
there.
All right.
Yeah.
This is that area where there's like a lot of little tiny houses that are ditch domestics, right there, okay. All right, now I know where we are, okay. And so what does the property owner have to say about this?
They were good with it last year.
Yeah, we sent letters.
He's
last year.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. How many? You're gonna do 135 feet?
Yeah. You guys were probably on the board when that blew out, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I had got a picture of it. Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
have this.
there you go. I think it's yours.
Oh, I do have it, thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, well, I really appreciate you bringing this up, and I think, you know, the 135 is better than, you know, a mile, so.
Right.
You know. There's only, 25% of it left on down it or something, I was reading, not a lot, unfortunately. Okay, well, I have no issues. It's just a courtesy, okay?
And
So,
that was the only three.
okay, I would, is there, would it be a lot of trouble to put this, when we put this agenda out, to put this in there ahead of time? So the public can see?
We
what's
can
going
add
on?
it as backup documentation.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good, I think that would be good.
Is this experimental mine road here?
This is Experimental Mine Road.
Oh, okay.
It's really cool, the topography out there is really cool, because the miners kind of figured this out, and they figured, well, that'd be a good place to divide the ditch. And then that turns into eventually the penstock, right, that goes down to the college and crosses Yankee Hill Road?
Across the Sawmill Flat, near Rainy Road.
Okay. Such a cool system. All right, and
So Barbara, next meeting, I'm going back to the public. Do you want me to get the pictures and the map already done?
just part of the, I mean,
Or like,
I knew what this was, cause I know the time of year and what we were gonna do, and I think you had mentioned it, so, but, the public doesn't.
Mhm.
And there could be somebody that has a weir or something that might have concerns and just get reassurance that it's not gonna affect them, then people can see, and topo maps, really helpful. I know that's a lot of information, but like the map Antonio gave, the topos were light, but then you could take a look at where potential erosion is gonna be coming from. That kind of thing.
For this section here, how long is the ditch gonna be? Well, this is a usual ditch outage, right?
we'll do it during that.
Yeah, okay, so the folks on experimental mine know that there's gonna be lack of water at that point in time.
Mhm.
Cause they're real sensitive to fire issues.
But they know, they know.
And I think they got some sort of storage up
They
there.
do, I know they have at least one tank up now, down there, and they've also done a ton of mastication work around their places down
Well,
there.
they had a house at the bottom that caught
Yes.
fire.
Yeah.
And thank God there was a CAL FIRE plane coming nearby, and so they were able to put it out, but that could have wiped out that whole area.
So I have a question about the Bo Leonard project.
Mhm.
What was that?
We're just changing out, I'm not saying we're changing out, we are installing a new pipe next to the old one. Cause it's old concrete pipe and it's leaking, it has holes in it, it's not very deep, it overflows a lot, so. The old pipe will stay as an overflow, and then we're just gonna get a new pipe in that's larger, could take more. I don't wanna say more flows, what would be capacity of the ditch, it can handle that,
Mm-hmm.
and then get it down. Get it through the property down to the bottom of it.
And get it down right to where then it parallels the road.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. Okay, just checking on what that is. Yeah, those people are very, very dependent on that fire flow, and I think the consultants, I think Rick was up in there looking at, where Sugar Plum takes off and that other one, Whiskey Mine, I don't know, it's just kind of a little nexus and there's
Yeah,
a pond in there which could be invaluable if people had to shelter in place. That would be an amazing dry hydrant type thing in cooperation with the public, I think. Because I think that the public doesn't understand that TD provides fire flow and water for the whole county, whether you're a customer or not. We know that every day, but they don't know that. They don't know that that's a benefit. So we should put that in our public awareness campaign too. Okay, everybody know their homework assignment?
This looks pretty aggressive. Are you guys gonna be able to get it done during the ditch outage?
Weather dependent, we should be able to, yeah.
Great.
That would have been done last year, except for rain, that whole.
Yeah, that was a weird year right
So I would like to work with Dawn and either one of you on these policy-related public awareness, setback, enforcement, things might involve Jesse.
Mhm.
Saying, how can we do this, Jesse?
Yeah.
And he'll figure it out too.
okay,
And that because I like the county, but, they can only do so much.
Yeah.
So that's just like, provide sandbag, no sandbags, so we just have to make sure that we take care of our own.
Yeah.
No argument about that, right? All right, are we good?
Yeah, I should have any more questions.
You good? How you doing?
Just hanging in there, learning, trying to learn.
Would you like me to stop